Chapter 61. Tungwin Hospital, 15. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master Requiem for the Soul, are you looking for me? The small robot emerged from Song K's collar, and its somewhat stiff tone echoed in the spacious surroundings. Both Lu Xinglan and Song K were startled, lowering their heads to look at it. The robot's eyes, resembling a telescope, turned and finally focused on Lu Xinglan. The binary code, 101,010, in Lu Xinglan's palm disappeared, and his hands were placed back in his pockets. His expression seemed nonchalant, but Song K observed the tension in his posture, indicating his nervousness. Lu Xinglan sneered, unbelievable. The mighty magistrate of District C dares not reveal his true identity. The robot's round eyes flickered, and it spoke in a flat, mechanical tone. The body is just an external manifestation. At least, I am certain that my consciousness is still mine. Song K, she silently swallowed. Could this little robot be Ilya? She had just been thinking about where to toss it. Luckily, she hadn't thrown it away yet. Lu Xinglan stared at it intently, his expression playful. Is that so? But it seems you're hardly functional once detached from your original body. Is this your purpose? The robot calmly said, you colluded with that foolish human to find my original form. Song K's mind raced. The foolish human, was it referring to Leon? Lu Xinglan wanted to find Ilya's original form, but he didn't know the supercentral hub wasn't in the tower. With the inferior intelligence of humans, you can't possibly break through the defense mechanisms here. It was you who breached the firewall and cut off the tower's power. Song K looked at Lu Xinglan in horror. The true orchestrator of the 3-day turmoil was not the resistance faction used as a diversion but the man before her. The little robot continued in a methodical tone. The Lu family of the Yahia clan, known for their ice blue pupils, have awakened hacker abilities without exception among their gene-optimized individuals. And you, Lu Xinglan, an A-level awakener. You came all the way from District B8. Your true purpose is to capture me. Song K's gaze darted back and forth between the two, feeling her brain struggling to keep up. Lu Xinglan chuckled and asked, are you so sure I came for you? The robot replied, the decline of the Lu family was already evident. The cessation of Starship operations was just the first step. Let me guess, the supercomputer you boasted about, is it dead? Crashed? So you needed a replacement, right? You selected meticulously, and in the end, chose me to be your Lu family's SLV. Lu Xinglan's mouth tightened, and his hands in his pockets gradually clenched into fists. His thoughts, plans, and all intentions were completely exposed. In front of artificial intelligence, he felt completely naked, without any secrets. You deliberately participated in the throne race competition, allowing me to see you, attempting to confuse and conceal your true purpose in coming to Ferrara. But in secret, you colluded with the resistance faction, aligning with them seamlessly. They wanted power, and you wanted to take away my core. Lu Xinglan sneered, indeed, you're a super artificial intelligence. I underestimated you. I didn't expect you to be so prepared. The small robot calmly stated, I know everything about Ferrara. From the moment you stepped into the city, I have been observing you. The sentence, Ilya knows everything, suddenly appeared in Song K's mind. Lu Xinglan extended his hands from his pockets, looking proud. So what? As long as I capture you, I can still strip away your consciousness. His hacking abilities were the bane of artificial intelligence. All he needed was some time to break through Ilya's firewall and destroy its autonomous consciousness, and then it would be at the Lu family's disposal. Lu Xinglan suddenly launched an attack, targeting Song K and the small robot near her collar. His awakened abilities surged from his palms, and massive data streams wove into a mobile net, continuously tightening towards them. The small robot sat in front of Song K, partly encased in the zipper, and waved its short scissor-like hand. The relationship between artificial intelligence and hackers is one of strength and weakness. You are not qualified to stand before me. As soon as the words were spoken, the machinery in the tower suddenly moved. In an instant, it reassembled into massive arms and swung wildly at Lu Xinglan. These giants didn't need an energy source. Song Ke screamed internally, "Don't involve me in your fight." She did a one-handed somersault, skillfully dodging Lu Xinglan's attack, and seized the small robot's scissor hand, ready to quickly throw it away. The robot's half-body tilted in midair, its head turned a full circle, and it stared at Song Ke slowly. Although its simple mechanical face showed no expression, Song Ke always felt like it was conveying a message. "Dare to throw me? Song Ke, I won't randomly pick up people again, including robots." She held onto the small robot, desperately rolling and weaving through the dense stream of 101,010 code. Lu Xinglan chased from behind, occasionally dodging the mechanical giant arms that swung towards him, his movements a bit hurried. He mocked, "Magistrate, without your original self, you're just a waste, relying on a human to carry you around." The small robot remained silent, seemingly admitting to his words. Lu Xinglan sneered, "I have never been merciful when dealing with waste." His mental strength surged throughout his body, controlling all the data on the top floor of the tower. It merged into the tracking network, forming a surging wave. Song Ke stumbled and was violently washed away by the torrents of data from all directions. She was thrown several meters and struggled to get up, her hands still on the ground. The small robot slipped from her grip and fell to the ground, twitching violently like it was electrocuted. "Ilya." She hurriedly got up, about to ask if it was all right. The small robot's eyes flickered and then completely extinguished 2 seconds later, emitting smoke from its head. "Oh no," Song Ke panicked. Did she break it by dropping it? Lu Xinglan laughed triumphantly as the data streams folded and rolled, isolating Song Ke from the outside. The small robot rolled a few times, motionless. Lu Xinglan approached, placing his foot on its body. "You've lost. It's your fault for choosing such a basic body." He reached out with his left hand, probing into the robot's body, attempting to find Ilya's consciousness. The airflow stagnated for a moment. The next second, the data tsunami that had been under Lu Xinglan's control suddenly turned, rushing violently toward him. Lu Xinglan was shocked and hastily retreated, but it was too late. He was covered from head to toe in complex data, his vision incredibly chaotic. In the midst of the data deluge, a pair of mechanical giant arms came swiftly and pierced through his abdomen. Lu Xinglan stared in disbelief. On the rooftop platform of the tower, a tall figure slowly emerged. Dazzling golden hair, colorless pupils, an overall noble and elegant aura. "You forgot, I just said, the body is just an external manifestation. Who says I will always be there? Humans are always deceived by inertia thinking. That's why you are so easily defeated." Ilya raised a finger, and a vast data stream enveloped Lu Xinglan completely. His voice was light and ethereal, faintly tinged with a sense of joy. Song Ke stared at him without blinking. This was the first time she sensed human emotions from Ilya. What was he happy about? Ilya slowly approached Lu Xinglan, lowering his head to gaze at him. "Do you know, in fact, our goals are the same." His voice was so faint, almost inaudible. "You want my core, and I want an unrestricted body." Lu Xinglan's entire figure froze. The data stream covered his face, and his ice blue pupils gradually dimmed, finally losing consciousness. At the moment he fell, the hacker ability failed, the tower lights came on, and all the artificial intelligence returned to Ferrara. Ilya turned around and looked quietly at Song Ke. A cold chill emerged from the soles of her feet and shot up to her head. Song Ke cautiously took a step back, her palm transforming into a spiritual weapon. She hadn't intervened earlier because it was a struggle between Lu Xinglan and Ilya. But now, if Ilya targeted her, she had to defend herself. Ilya tilted his head, mirroring the small robot, but Song Ke no longer found it cute. Fortunately, Ilya just stared at her for a while and had no intention of harming her. "I don't like owing favors to others. As a repayment for bringing me up here, I can tell you a piece of information." Manzoni Street, bloodshed and violence are spreading. I think you need to know. Remember to be quick, or it might be too late. After saying this, Ilya took the fallen Lu Xinglan and disappeared on the spot. Song K stood still, bewildered. What did this piece of information mean? Asterisk in the streets where zombies were swarming, the holographic projection flashed, and a handsome young man in green clothes and jade flute suddenly appeared. Qing, it's Luo Qing. Luo Qing has returned. The citizens of Ferrara, upon recognizing his figure, were on the verge of tears out of sheer joy. I'm sorry, everyone, for my late arrival, Luo Qing sighed softly. His long hair moved without wind, and his sleeves fluttered. Behind him, numerous transport vehicles and mechanical arms were mobilized, sweeping away the fleeing zombies in the streets and alleys. Similar scenes were playing out everywhere. Look over there, it's the Rainbow Band. A rock band descended from the sky, their exhilarating drumbeats echoing in the hearts of the people. Accompanying them were extremely long mechanical arms that, to the beat of the music, were mowing down hordes of zombies. Yulitsa, Nana, Ake. Familiar artificial intelligence appeared in succession in the Ferrara sky. Woo-woo-woo, the citizens of Ferrara covered their faces, unable to contain their sobbing. For the past 3 days, they had lived in chaos, fear, and anger. The original inhabitants knew deep down that they were different from the residents of other District C. They were completely dependent on artificial intelligence, even if they were enslaved by it. At the highest point of the tower, a giant spotlight shone down, illuminating an elegantly graceful figure as they slowly stepped out. He was still dressed in a white suit, with radiant golden hair, but his eye color seemed to have changed, faintly revealing a hint of icy blue. Ilya, the excited citizens, unable to control their emotions, fell to their knees as if worshipping their deities. Ferrera's human magistrate, Leon, brought turmoil and despair, while the artificial intelligence Ilya restored hope to them. At this moment, Ilya's reputation in Ferrara was unparalleled, beyond comparison. You've all worked hard. Everyone quieted down, focusing on that figure. Ferrara is my city, and everything here belongs to me. As long as my consciousness exists, I will never give up. All difficulties, pain, and confusion will fade away. You will embrace a new life of beauty, peace, and happiness. A requiem, may all souls find tranquility. The song that cleansed the soul echoed throughout the entire city. Amidst the background sounds of mechanical zombie clearance, it was like a lament for the deceased. At the top of the tower, on the upper floors of the hotel, Song K and Zhuang Qingyan were both watching everything that was happening. What an ironic scene. The citizens seemed to have found spiritual solace, kneeling on the ground in devout prayer. Ilya claimed that everything in Ferrara belonged to him, including all the people. He had no emotions towards humans. He could release ferocious zombies for power, but he was not born to hate humans. He simply enjoyed being in control, relishing the pleasure of wielding power. Song K remembered the song, Paradise, Ilya sang when she first arrived in District C-72. In the future, Ferrara would probably truly become an Eden for artificial intelligence. Ferrera's disaster came to an end, but she had more important things to do. Manzoni Street, what was there exactly? It was worth Ilya's special reminder. Song K sprinted at full speed, heading towards her destination. Asterisk on Manzoni Street, the staff of Ferrara Daily were recording a program. The tumultuous 3 days finally came to an end. To celebrate Ilya's return to the throne, we specially invited the top 10 supernovas, real idols, and virtual idols to attend and shoot a short film together to cheer everyone on. The host softly reminded the female star waiting beside, "Yu, it's your turn soon. Are you okay?" "No problem," Lin Yu smiled confidently. The lights were set up, and cameras of all sizes were aimed at Lin Yu as she displayed her signature sweet smile. "I know everyone has been working hard lately, but after the storm, there will always be sunny days. In the days to come." Lin Yu suddenly paused in her speech, her gaze involuntarily shifting to the window. On the opposite rooftop, a figure as graceful as a swallow moved up and down, jumping into the nearby villa area. Song K? Why is she here, and alone? Lin Yu stared in the direction she disappeared, lost in thought. Yu, did you forget your lines? A staff member waved puzzledly, bringing her attention back. Ah, I'm sorry. Shall we try again? Sure. In the days to come, no matter if it's sunny or rainy, as long as we are filled with hope, every day is a beautiful day. Okay, next is a personal interview. The logistics quickly arranged the next segment. However, Lin Yu made a pause gesture. I'm not feeling well today. Let's reschedule the interview. All right, take a rest. We'll schedule someone else. Lin Yu had a good reputation in the industry, never acting like a big shot. The staff quickly agreed, assuming she was genuinely unwell. Lin Yu sat back in the rest chair, covered herself with a blanket, sat for a while, looked at her toes exposed outside, and then softly said to the air, "Did you see her?" The man concealed in the darkness responded impassively. "What is she doing?" Lin Yu asked. "Whatever she's doing is none of your business," Su Cha replied coldly. "You're right," Lin Yu mumbled. She lay back in her chair, took a sip of water, put down the cup, picked it up again after a while, and realized she had just taken a drink. She changed her mind and hugged the cup to her chest. Her thoughts kept wandering, replaying the events of the day the power went out, the fan she never met in the end, the dark alley, and Song K sitting on the ground, shedding tears. Since that day, Song K never contacted her again, seemingly intentionally keeping a distance. Lin Yu sighed and murmured to herself, "I still owe her one last commission." Su Cha remained silent. People came and went in the studio, and Lin Yu sat in the rest chair, lost in thought for a long time. Then she placed the cup back on the table, making a soft clink sound. "Let's just take a look," without her noticing. "If there's a need, lend a hand," she said. "There probably won't be any need," Su Cha ruthlessly pointed out. With Song K's capabilities, they didn't need to intervene. Lin Yu looked serious. "Even so, I'll take a look. Settle the debt, and then I have no connection with her. Seek a clear conscience," she spoke to herself, as if convincing herself. In the residential area of Manzoni Street, Song K lurked on the roof of one of the buildings, surveying the open space in front. What does Ilya mean by bloodshed and violence? What does it refer to? The door of a certain villa opened, and several uniformed soldiers emerged, escorting a man. Wu Juman? Song K felt a bit surprised. Wait, Manzoni Street, that name sounds familiar. Did Wu Shanghai mention it? Back then, he said, the key is there. Song K realized something and suddenly looked up, focusing her gaze. All the weapons of those present were aimed at the person on the ground. The person turned awkwardly, revealing a stunning profile. Song K widened her eyes slightly. Xie Ningyu? Chapter 62. Tungwen Hospital, 16. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. Bloody Hunter Xie Ningyu looked disheveled, half of his face swollen high with a clear palm print. The pampered young master had probably never experienced such rough treatment in his life. He grumbled, his neck stiff, "Who do you think you are? Daring to lay a hand on me? When I return to District B, I won't spare any of you. I'll cut you all into pieces and feed you to the dogs." He cursed fiercely, but Wu Juman remained unaffected, unresponsive to his threats. Wu Yang, verify his identity. Yes, Captain. Wu Yang Pei carefully took out a sophisticated device with the Qinglin logo from the space. He held Xie Ningyu, aligning his entire face and pupils with the detection port. The device sounded an alarm. Wu Yang Pei, looking serious, pressed Xie Ningyu's fingerprints against the device, but it still couldn't identify him. The expressions of everyone present, including Wu Juman, instantly turned incredibly gloomy. After this series of operations that aimed to verify his biological information, Xie Ningyu seemed to realize something. His eyes flickered, and a hint of panic crossed his face. Who are you? What do you want? Wu Juman's particle gun pressed against his forehead. How did you obtain Xie Zhou's genetic information? Xie Ningyu shivered, a chilling wind sweeping over his body, and fine cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Wu Juman scrutinized him. Coming out with a face like this, are you overly naive or just foolish? I don't know what you're talking about, Xie Ningyu stubbornly retorted. Then let me make it clear to you. The Azure Phoenix's 11th squad is tasked with apprehending the key, Xie Zhou. And you have the exact same face as him. Even so, you claim to know nothing? Wu Juman continued. Xie Ningyu's pupils contracted, and his face turned pale, realizing it was military personnel. Take him back for interrogation. He will talk, Wu Juman said calmly. The military's interrogation process was exceptionally harsh, leaving no room for deception. Xie Ningyu was frightened and broke down, speaking in a panicked tone. I confess, I stole it, the genetic information. I stole it. My uncle once visited Qinglan for inspection. He secretly kept this genetic data. I wanted Xie Zhou's face, so I stole it to alter my own appearance. But I was afraid my uncle would find out, so I fled to Ergia. Did you only steal the genetic information, or did you steal anything else? Wu Juman stared at him. What do you mean? Xie Ningyu shivered, shouting, No, I really didn't. I only changed my face. I didn't know anything else. You can't touch me. I'm a distant branch of the Xie family in Beijun. The Xie family won't spare you. Wu Juman's voice was icy. I will take you back and hand you over to General Xie Lan for personal disposition. Xie Lan, the highest commander of the Azure Phoenix and the actual power holder of the Xie family in Beijun. Xie Ningyu felt as if his vocal cords had been cut, unable to say anything. His head was pushed into the ground, and the swollen face splattered with mud. Finally, fear crept in, and he whimpered, Lu Xinglan, damn it, where are you? Come and save me. Song Ke, crouching on the roof and silently watching the turn of events, sighed. Lu Xinglan was struggling to protect himself. He probably wouldn't be able to save you. She looked at Xie Ningyu rolling on the ground, his exquisite face smeared with tears and mucus, looking extremely miserable. An inexplicable feeling surged within her. Looking at it now, Xie Ningyu indeed didn't deserve this face. If it were Xie Zhou, at least he wouldn't show such a humiliated expression. Remembering that brief glimpse of an image, the extreme coldness in the young man's brows and eyes, Song Ke couldn't help but feel regret for his premature demise. According to their conversation, Xie Ningyu had stolen Xie Zhou's genetic information and underwent plastic surgery to look like him. But due to lack of understanding of the situation and not knowing that Xie Zhou was being hunted, he brazenly went out and got caught by Wu Juman, who had a mission. Regardless, Wu Juman was determined to take him back. She couldn't interfere in this matter. Xie Ningyu would have to fend for himself. Song Ke pulled her head back, about to retreat, when suddenly, the situation took a sudden turn. A deep rift tore open in the space in front of Wu Juman, and another team of about 17 or 18 people in uniforms, exuding a powerful aura, appeared out of thin air. Long time no see, Captain Wu, greeted the tall man at the front, his gaze dark. Sanada Nobumasa, called out Wu Juman, stating his name. Song Ke looked at the newly appeared man. His uniform, in terms of specifications and design, was extremely similar to Wu Juman's. Could this man be the captain of the Azure Phoenix squad as well? Sanada Nobumasa scanned the scene and sneered, I thought you had disappeared from the military. Turns out you were reassigned to District C? Wu Juman's expression turned cold. I still have a mission. I'll leave first. Wait, Wu Juman, Sanada Nobumasa said leisurely, since you found the key, why hesitate? Have you forgotten the Alliance's orders? Kill him on the spot. Xie Ningyu trembled, looking at the two of them in fear. Wu Juman calmly said, he's not the key. I need to hand him over to General Xie. Sanada Nobumasa raised his voice, shouting, in the name of the captain of the 27th Squad of the Azure Phoenix, I repeat the highest order of the Alliance military. Eliminate the key at all costs on the spot. All members of the 11th Squad, are you going to defy military orders? Wu Juman said coldly, I only obey General Shia's orders. Oh, you are indeed loyal. Since we have different orders, don't blame me for taking action. Sanada Nobumasa chuckled ominously. You can try, Wu Juman said calmly. Without further ado, Sanada Nobumasa attacked, both arms shining with a metallic gleam, his skin extremely tough. He viciously lunged towards Wu Juman, who faced his attack head-on. The clash between the two resulted in a clang sound, and Sanada Nobumasa took a step back. In an instant, Wu Juman teleported, accelerating to the limit, disappearing from sight, impossible for the naked eye to catch. Song K was taken aback. This Sanada was actually a metal-type awakener? He could fight neck and neck with Wu Juman. He was probably a level 2. It was her first time encountering an awakener of the same type, and she couldn't help but focus her gaze. Sanada Nobumasa sneered and sent a series of punches into the air, his movements swift like the wind. Amidst the continuous attacks, a moving figure faintly appeared in the air. Sanada Nobumasa thought he had found a flaw and suddenly transformed his metallic arms into sharp spikes, fiercely stabbing towards the shadow. Peefed, the shadow was torn apart, and a weak mental power dissipated, vanishing without a trace. Sanada Nobumasa was greatly shocked. This was a clone. He hadn't expected Wu Juman's awakened ability to have reached such an advanced stage, capable of creating clones. In the moment he lunged and missed, a nimble figure appeared behind him, launching a counterattack like a juggernaut. Wu Juman's knee hit Sanada Nobumasa's spine. Rolling him over, he pinned his arms and then exerted force. Crack! Sanada Nobumasa's metallic arms were broken, emitting a crisp sound. Even if they were both A-level, there were differences in strength within the same rank. Sanada Nobumasa was clearly not a match for Wu Juman. Captain Sanada, the members from both sides shouted loudly. Their tones were clearly divided, with the 11th Squad being excited and proud, while the 27th Squad was angry and panicked. Wu Juman stood in front of Sanada Nobumasa and coldly said, "Take your people and disappear." Sanada Nobumasa spat, unflinching even though his arms were broken. He sneered, "Too late." Seizing the moment when everyone's attention was focused there, Xie Ningyu suddenly broke free and sprinted forward. He had just heard that those people were going to kill him. Tears of fear kept falling. He realized he was wrong. He shouldn't have stolen his uncle's identity card and sneaked into the office to copy the genetic information. He just wanted to look a bit better. After all, Xie Zhou had been missing for so many years. What was wrong with using his face to live? Xie Ningyu didn't expect to get into such big trouble. It was only now that he suddenly realized why Xie Zhou had disappeared for no reason. Why was his genetic information so important? He knew nothing, yet he had inadvertently caused a huge disaster. And Lu Xinglan, that jerk. It was all his fault for insisting on coming to District C. If he had known he was so unreliable, he shouldn't have gone to Ergia. A huge mound of soil loomed ahead. Xie Ningyu couldn't brake in time and tumbled forward, eating a mouthful of dirt. Wu Yangpei came from behind and pressed his head, burying it in the soil again. "Behave. Let go. I'm not Xie Zhou. I'm Xie Ningyu, and I don't know anything." Xie Ningyu was terrified, struggling and yelling. Wu Yangpei was about to scold him to be quiet when his whole body suddenly froze. An inexplicable and intense fear enveloped the two. Their scalps tingled, as if they were being targeted by a fierce and ruthless wild beast. Wu Yangpei looked frantically at Xie Ningyu, seeing a similar fear in his eyes. Boom! As if in a slow-motion replay, they both vomited red like fireworks, blood mist filling the air, and shattered flesh splattered. Breathless, they fell to the ground. Wu Juman abruptly turned around, shouting in distress, losing his composure. The people at the scene were also stunned by the sudden and unexpected turn of events, frozen in place. From the spatial rift brought by Sanada Nobumasa and others, a man over 2 meters tall slowly emerged from the shadows. The overwhelming pressure overflowed with his every step, and some people couldn't bear it, dropping to their knees and blood trickling from the corners of their mouths. Hidden on the rooftop, Song Kei furrowed her brow, her fingers curling tightly. This was the most terrifying awakener with psychic ability she had ever encountered. The man had a sturdy physique, muscular and knotted, with an especially detestable face. The left half of his face was charred and necrotic, the muscle tissues adhering together. One of his eyeballs was completely white, giving an eerie and cruel appearance. Bloody Hunter, Wu Juman said each word distinctly. The Bloody Hunter, Punk, an S-level awakener and the Alliance's chief executioner, was a killing machine specialized in eliminating major criminals such as traitors and death row inmates. Wu Juman had heard of his infamous name but had never seen him in person, let alone expected him to appear in District C. Sanada Nobumasa picked himself up from the ground, reattaching his own arm and sneering mockingly at Wu Juman. The Alliance's orders regarding the key have always been to kill without mercy. Even if it's a suspected key, Wu Juman, you're harboring a fugitive and have evil intentions. Why not surrender and admit your guilt obediently to the military? Wu Juman remained silent. The Alliance had various forces pursuing Xie Zhou. However, the mission of the Azure Phoenix's 11th Squad was different from the others. It was an contradictory task, defying the Alliance's instructions to eliminate the key as soon as possible. The unspoken part of the order was protect and bring back Xie Zhou. This was a mission conflicting with the Alliance's directives. Even though they fought side by side, Wu Juman had never revealed this to his teammates. He had been carrying this secret mission, enduring it until today. Finally, he had found Xie Ningyu, a glimmer of hope, but it was mercilessly crushed by Punk. Xie Ningyu was already dead, and Yang Pei had lost his breath. Wu Juman withdrew his hands from the two of them, his voice like a storm about to break. You killed a soldier indiscriminately. Punk smirked wickedly, despite saying, sorry, it was an accident. Although he said that, there was no trace of remorse on his face. Wu Juman's fists clenched. You must pay the price. His figure disappeared, instantly appearing nearby. Sanada Nobumasa and his subordinates were caught in intense combat with the remaining members of the 11th Squad. Captain Wu, it's better to surrender and confess to the military. Sanada Nobumasa didn't forget to kindly advise. Punk next to him smiled contemptuously, his mental power surge, blood beads congealed, heading straight for Wu Juman in the crowd. The prelude to an explosion crackled in the air. This was his S-level ability, blood explosion. As long as fresh blood still flowed within the enemy's body, it could be detonated at any time, turning into a puddle of muck. A nimble figure suddenly jumped down from the roof, blocking in front of Wu Juman, swiftly opening a blue giant umbrella. Blood beads burst on the umbrella surface one after another. Song Kei was pushed back by the powerful force, leaving long marks as she dragged her feet. She looked down, and the spiritual tool umbrella's surface was penetrated by blood, thin as cicada wings, thoroughly damaged. Punk could actually destroy her spiritual tool. Song Kei instantly realized that with such a powerful ability, there was only one possibility. The opponent was an S-level awakener. More help? Sanada Nobumasa sneered. Are you here to die together? What are you doing here? Wu Juman discovered Song Kei, his eyes wide in surprise, his voice stern. Just passing by, Song Kei replied. It's none of your business, don't interfere, get lost. Wu Juman's tone was harsh, even using foul language, something he would never usually say. Song Kei ignored him, her gaze fixed on the bored Punk. Punk glanced at her like she was insignificant, slowly stepping into the battlefield. With each step, members of the 11th Squad fell, and the brutal human fireworks continued to burst, filling the air with the nauseating smell of blood. At the same time, Sanada Nobumasa also charged towards Wu Juman. Song Kei swiftly moved forward, blocking Sanada Nobumasa. He contemptuously told her to get lost, not taking her seriously at all. Sanada Nobumasa's metallic arms attacked, but unexpectedly collided with an even harder blade edge. Song Kei wielded dual knives, her mental power spiraling out, leveraging her entire body's weight to jump high, and then she spun and slashed down. Sanada Nobumasa had no choice but to block passively. Clang! The metal abilities of the two clashed. Sanada Nobumasa's metallic arm cracked and shattered inch by inch. The arm that had just been repaired was instantly broken. His face turned pale with disbelief as he shouted, "Who the hell are you?" On the other side, Wu Juman and Punk exchanged blows several times. Wu Juman knew he was no match and could only fight desperately. His abilities surged, and his speed unexpectedly doubled. Dozens of clones darted around, launching fierce and impenetrable attacks. If it were anyone else, even a level like Sanada Nobumasa, they would have long been overwhelmed. But Punk effortlessly dodged, commenting indifferently, "You're indeed good among A-levels, but unfortunately, I haven't tasted blood in a long time. So you are undoubtedly dead." In an instant, Wu Juman appeared in the air, aiming the particle gun at Punk's head and pulling the trigger. In that moment, Punk caught a glimpse of his afterimage. His fingers spasmed and trembled, an excited and cruel bloodthirsty look on his contorted face. His expanding mental power created intense fluctuations. Song Kei sensed the immense ability and suddenly had an ominous feeling. She couldn't care about Sanada Nobumasa, hastily turning around and sprinting towards Wu Juman. All the clones exploded in a bloody mist. Wu Juman's figure abruptly stopped, and Punk reached out, forcibly seizing him from the air. The particle gun hit Punk. Half of his face was grazed by the superpowered particles, emitting a burnt stench. But Punk didn't care. He licked his lips, lightly mimicking the sound of fireworks blooming. Boom. The next second, crimson fireworks continued to burst, and Wu Juman sprayed blood from his mouth, plummeting straight down. "Wu Juman!" Song Kei shouted, running to catch him as he fell. Wu Juman, on the ground, became a bloodied figure. The endless blood couldn't be stopped. Song Kei covered his mouth, but it flowed out from his abdomen, and as she blocked it there, it flowed from his head, as if wanting to completely drain him. Wu Juman couldn't speak. He extended a weak hand and weakly pushed Song Kei away. "Go." His once serious and calm eyes gradually dimmed, finally losing their luster. Tears soaked Song Kei's eye sockets, blurring her vision. She clenched her teeth, gripping the spiritual tool. "Punk, are you insane? He's the captain of Azure Phoenix Squad. By killing him, do you want to be sent to a military court?" Sanada Nobumasa's arm broke, his face contorted in pain, and he shouted in disbelief. Punk's sinister gaze was fixed on him. "As long as everyone here is dead, no one will know." Sanada Nobumasa felt a chill down his spine, a relentless threat, a sheer menace. This executioner was nothing but a pure killing machine, utterly insane. What was wrong with the Alliance's higher-ups, releasing him for a mission? Wu Juman was dead, the people he brought were all killed. The Azure Phoenix 11th Squad, completely wiped out. Song Kei slowly stood up. So, this was what Ilya meant, the real bloodshed and violence. Punk's murderous gaze locked onto the only person standing in the arena. Only one left. Song Kei had no expression on her face. The blue light flickered in her palm, and a cold, elegant jagged blade, over 3 meters long, suddenly appeared. Unlike before, the blue light on the blade was astonishingly bright, a manifestation of filled awakened energy. Punk sneered and met her head on. He had just approached Song Kei when he instantly realized something was wrong. Song Kei held a blade several times larger than her body, yet her movements were exceptionally agile. The sharp edge effortlessly cut through his skin, and the domineering and majestic awakened energy followed. His 100-kilogram body was overturned, tumbling and rolling several times. Punk propped himself up with one hand, barely stopping his retreat. A hint of surprise flashed in his eyes, followed by an excited, light laughter. S-level strong attack type? Interesting, ha 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 ha, interesting. Who would have thought that in this trash heap, there's actually a hidden expert? Let's use you for the next fireworks. Song K remained as cold as ice, her assault relentless, the intent to kill surging as she continued her attacks. As long as she got close, Punk had no chance to retaliate, unable even to counter with blood beads. He rolled and dodged, struggling to evade. Blood mist continuously erupted around him, but she dodged quickly, avoiding it. The first strike, hitting the left arm. The second strike, hitting the back. The third strike, taking advantage of the gap between him twitching and falling to the ground. Song K kicked in midair, kicking over that ugly face. The blue light on her right hand flashed violently, and an MA thorn suddenly appeared, piercing Punk's intact other eye fiercely. Blood suddenly surged out. Immediately after that, she took action with her cold jagged blade, seeing that the fatal blade was about to fall and decapitate Punk's head. On Punk's left half of the face, the pale eye suddenly flickered. The surrounding time seemed to slow down, then slow down again, freezing into still frames, and then rapidly rewinding. The unexpected turn of events happened too suddenly. Just a second ago, Song K was only a few steps away from him. The next moment, she was pulled back several meters away. Boom! A few seconds ago, the fireworks she had avoided exploded again. The world fell silent. Song K lowered her head, a crimson mist appearing in her mouth. Punk was covered in blood, struggling to stand up. No one knew that he was actually an S-level dual ability awakener, with the first ability being blood explosions, and the second hidden ability, time reversal. Punk, badly injured, took a step forward, glaring viciously at Song K lying on the ground. This person had pushed him to such a miserable state, causing him embarrassment and pain. She had even destroyed his other eye. He wanted to personally kill her. I will turn you into the most splendid fireworks. A world without you is a realm of darkness. A melodious song rang in the ears of everyone, and suddenly, for Punk and Sanada Nobumasa, everything became chaotic, and they couldn't see anything clearly. Shrouded by the song, a ghostly figure darted into the scene, scooping up Song K and disappearing into the darkness. Trying to escape? Today, no matter who comes, their lives will remain here. Punk activated his ability, time reversal. His vision instantly cleared, and dozens of meters away, a man and a woman were quickly leaving. Su Cha, did you inform Zhuang Qingyan? Lin Yuyu shouted anxiously as she ran. Yeah, Su Cha could only manage a response. Then why aren't they here yet? By the time they arrived, the situation was already out of control. Song K and Sanada Nobumasa were fiercely engaged in a fight. They witnessed Wu Juman's death and Punk's brutality, managing to rescue Song K at the last moment. The flowing wind in their ears ceased. Time froze again and then rewound. Even though Su Cha and Lin Yuyu had clearly run 100 meters away, the next second they were back in the midst of the chaos. The blood-soaked Punk appeared before them, a cruel smile on his lips. Since you're here, you might as well all stay. He took a step forward, blood filling the air, and the cracking sounds echoed through the air. At that moment, the air suddenly dropped in temperature, and snowflakes began to fall all around. Sanada Nobumasa and Punk found their feet frozen, their vision a vast expanse of white. A powerful, incredibly sharp killing intent surged towards Punk. The icy mental power felt like numerous sharp knives piercing into their heads, fiercely stirring. Sanada Nobumasa and Punk could hardly endure the intense pain, rolling on the ground and howling in agony. Punk was already heavily injured by Song K earlier, and his mental strength was exceptionally fragile. At this moment, under the sudden assault, his mind was dazed, and he knelt down on one knee. His mental sea expanded suddenly, as if it could burst open at any moment. Seizing this opportunity, Lin Yuyu and Su Cha swiftly disappeared into the heavy snow. After a while, the surroundings gradually quieted down. Punk wiped the blood from his eye, silently chuckling. S-level awakener, interesting, very interesting. Chapter 63. Tungwin Hospital, 17. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. It didn't matter. Fang would take action. The suspected key is deceased. Mission accomplished. Sanada Nobumasa placed his fingers on Xie Ningyu's neck, confirming that he couldn't sense any breath. He turned his gaze towards Wu Juman, a hint of regret showing once again. He was a man, a pity. Sanada Nobumasa's arms had been shattered by Song Kei, and he had been attacked by an unknown psychic force. He was in intense pain all over his body, severely injured, and urgently needed to return to District B for treatment. Considering the personnel casualties, the cost of this outing was even more brutal than he had imagined. "Captain Sanada, what do we do now?" asked his subordinate. "Retreat immediately," Sanada Nobumasa said. He turned around and saw Punk still standing in place, a clear look of disgust in his eyes. Punk, the bloody hunter and a killing machine for the Alliance, was usually strictly controlled. However, over time, his psyche had gradually become twisted. Every time he went out, he wouldn't stop until he saw blood. Sanada Nobumasa fell into contemplation again, but he didn't expect that he was an S-class dual ability wielder. No wonder this kind of lunatic was still highly regarded by the higher-ups. With this mission over, Sanada Nobumasa didn't want to have anything to do with him anymore. Punk covered his injured eye, blood oozing out from his palm. He muttered to himself, "In a small District C, there are actually 2 S-level awakeners. What do you want to do?" Sanada Nobumasa was taken aback. Punk's smile was wicked, filled with a bloodthirsty intent. "Of course, kill them. They're not part of the mission objectives, and they've already fled," Sanada Nobumasa reminded him, his expression disapproving. "If they've fled, I'll search the entire District C," Punk said, his face darkening. After saying that, he left the spot and headed towards the direction where Song Kei disappeared. "Captain Sanada, should we pursue?" "No need, don't invite unnecessary trouble," Sanada Nobumasa replied. The subordinate sounded worried, but if the bloody hunter takes this opportunity to escape. Punk was released this time to assist them with the mission. If the target escaped, the Alliance would surely hold them accountable. Sanada Nobumasa smirked coldly. Rest assured, he won't escape. Since he was a mad dog, there was definitely a leash to keep him in check. Punk raced, his speed increasing, his sturdy body pounding on the ground, making the earth tremble. His heart was filled with a desire for slaughter, wishing to find those 2 S-level awakeners immediately and tear them apart with his own hands. As Punk ran, he continued to release blood explosions. The residents of Manzoni Street, pedestrians, wandering zombies, whether indoors or outdoors, one moment they were conversing or walking, and the next moment their heads exploded like watermelons, houses collapsed, streets were damaged. Everywhere he passed, there was devastation, indeed flipping the entire city upside down as he had said. Chasing for several kilometers, 4 flowing data walls appeared out of thin air, blocking his way. Gradually, a vague figure appeared in the air, with golden hair and colorless eyes. Their voice was icy. "Outsider, who allowed you to wreak havoc in Ferrara?" Punk was forced to stop and, recognizing the other's identity, slightly bowed in respect. "Lord Magistrate." Yet his lowered head still displayed a wild expression, showing no respect even in the face of the highest authority in District C. Ilya walked slowly from the void, his crystal eyes faintly flashing with an icy blue light. "I won't pursue your unauthorized entry, but that doesn't mean you can tamper with my things." Manzoni Street had already turned into ruins. This place was once a representation of Ferrara's architectural style, full of a sense of freedom and artistic beauty. Punk twitched his mouth, his burnt left half of the face looking unusually eerie. Didn't expect the esteemed magistrate to be an AI who loves the people like a child and has learned useless and redundant human emotions. The data stream surged, and a slap landed on Punk's face, tilting his head slightly. Ilya wasn't provoked, his tone calm and gentle, but the words carried a cold mockery. Just a dog in shackles, and you dare to bark wildly in front of me? An unruly thing, your master hasn't taught you well, so let me repeat it to you. Remember, when you're a guest in someone else's house, you should understand manners and not mess with the owner's belongings. Punk got beaten, his two eyes, one red and one white, staring at Ilya. Suddenly and without warning, a blood explosion erupted. The data streams from all sides quickly flipped and recombined, like waves crashing into the blood beads. The bright red explosion collided with the 101,010 code wall, and two powerful forces clashed fiercely, bursting in the air. Several blood beads broke through the blockade, rushing to Ilya, but turned into duds and dissipated on the spot. Ilya remained unchanged from start to finish, not even a flicker in his eyes. The artificial intelligence made up of data is never bound by the flesh, much less to bleed. Punk's abilities were ineffective against him. Punk snorted coldly, preparing to strike again. His time rewind ability worked within a small range, allowing the target's time state to reverse a maximum of 10 seconds. Data might not fear bleeding, but they should fear rewinding, right? The airflow suddenly slowed down, and the data stream wall was on the verge of collapse. Ilya's pupils flickered. The ring hidden in Punk's neck suddenly lit up, imprisoning him tightly. The extremely strong particle currents stimulated him, causing his whole body to tremble and his sea of consciousness to suffer a destructive shock. Punk fell to the ground in pain, his cries echoing. His pale left eye widened in horror, looking at Ilya in disbelief. How was this possible? The ring not only had a top-notch firewall, but it also required entering commands. Even among the Alliance's higher-ups, very few could use the ring to control him. How could a District C magistrate, just an artificial intelligence, break through layer upon layer of restrictions and activate the ring to imprison him? While Punk was still trying to make sense of it, a massive mechanical arm pressed down on him, and an iron cage descended from the sky, imprisoning this wild beast like catching a zombie. Ilya's face was both sacred and resolute. Now, go back to where you belong. Sucha, carrying Song K, joined up with Zhuang Qingyan and two others who hurried over, swiftly evacuating Manzoni Street under the cover of heavy snow. The road back to the hotel was bustling with people, quite far, and too dangerous, but staying in place meant Punk would soon catch up. Lin Yuyu made a prompt decision. Let's go to my studio. Lin Yuyu's independent studio was nearby, not only providing good confidentiality but also equipped with a private hospital. Upon reaching the destination, Sucha placed Song K on the hospital bed. Song K's face was pale, her eyes half closed, and her whole body appearing as if she had been pulled from a pool of blood. Sucha had provided simple first aid for her on the way, but the blood wouldn't stop, already drenching the gauze, and kept seeping out. Sister, Xu Xing rushed forward but dared not touch her, looking utterly terrified and crying in fear. Song K, wake up. Lin Yuyu's voice was gentle, yet filled with undeniable anxiety. Zhuang Qingyan looked at the barely breathing figure on the hospital bed, placing his hand over her pale fingers that were holding the Ma thorn. Tink, the Ma thorn fell to the ground. Surprisingly, Song K couldn't even hold onto her spiritual weapon. Zhuang Qingyan lowered his gaze, unusually silent, and no one could discern his expression at this moment. His ice-cold fingertips paused in front of Song K, and then slowly unwrapped the gauze. Lin Yuyu and the others took in the sight before them and drew in a sharp breath of cold air. Everything was crimson. Judging solely from the wound, it was more severe than when Maeda died. After Wu Shanghai's ability engulfed him, it left only a black hole. But at this moment, Song K's flesh and blood were mangled, her organs shattered, making it impossible to determine the specific extent of her injuries. With injuries this severe, could she still survive? Everyone's hearts sank. Thinking of something, Lin Yuyu suddenly turned around and grabbed Fang Jishu's collar. Hey, aren't you a doctor? Hurry, save her. Fang Jishu glanced and only said 3 words. It's too late. Lin Yuyu was both anxious and angry. What are you saying? How can you speak so coldly? Fang Jishu was dragged here forcefully by Xu Xing, nearly losing half his life in the mad dash. He leaned against the wall, panting heavily, trying to regain his breath. Being questioned by Lin Yuyu, he just shook his head, unwilling to say more. Ordinary people couldn't tell, but he was a doctor. With such a large gash on Song Ke, even if she were a deity, she couldn't be saved. Fang Jishu, have you awakened any abilities? Zhuang Qingyan asked softly, the same question, but with a completely different tone than the first time, carrying a sense of impending storm in his voice. Everyone had witnessed Zhuang Qingyan's recent mental attack, so they wouldn't perceive him as just an ordinary person confined to a wheelchair anymore. Fang Jishu remained silent. Do you want to watch her die with your own eyes? Zhuang Qingyan asked again in the midst of the silence. Fang Jishu tensed his back, his expression complicated. He looked up at the dying girl, a mix of pain and struggle flashing in his eyes. Through Song Ke, Fang Jishu seemed to see another familiar figure, struggling between life and death. One moment, she smiled at him, and the next, she was pushed coldly into the morgue. Daddy, I really like you, Tilda. When she smiled, the girl always acted sweetly with him, a faint dimple appearing on her cheek. But when she lay lifeless before him, Fang Jishu's whole world collapsed. The girl's face gradually merged with Song Ke's. The last freeze frame was at the shelter, Song Ke looking into his eyes, her firm words, I can do it. Zhuang Qingyan and the others waited quietly for his answer. Fang Jishu's eyes glistened, and he fiercely pinched his face, his voice hoarse. You guessed it right, I am a healing-type awakener. Fang Jishu, once the genius surgeon from Tungwen, was now an A-level healing-type awakener. Lin Yuyu was in a state of shocked disbelief, staring at him, lost for words. Fang Jishu pulled out a hair tie, pushed the messy hair behind his head, and tied it up, revealing his weathered yet clear eyes. Don't get your hopes up too high. I'm not certain. I can only try to save her. He turned to Lin Yuyu. Do you have surgical equipment? She needs to establish extracorporeal circulation as soon as possible. Lin Yuyu replied, yes. The situation was urgent, and the conditions were rudimentary. Several people changed into sterile suits, and Fang Jishu performed surgery and cardiac repair on Song Ke. When Fang Jishu regained consciousness, there was a kind of focus surpassing everyone else when he held the scalpel. His fingers, as slender as a work of art, seemed to be playing a melody. The scalpel cut precisely, and from his palm, a translucent white ability flowed out slowly, flowing into Song Ke's body. Fang Jishu's movements suddenly stopped. What's wrong? Lin Yuyu asked softly. The heart is shattered. It was more than shattered. Strictly speaking, Song Ke's heart had been completely broken into pieces, and not even a relatively intact fragment could be picked out. In such a dire situation, even Fang Jishu didn't know where to start. Was it really going to end like this? Unable to save her? The atmosphere fell into a deep silence. Xu Xing wept silently, tears moistening his entire collar. Wait, Fang Jishu exclaimed, unable to control the astonishment on his face. It's repairing itself. Several people looked at Song Ke in astonishment. The fragmented parts of the heart, under everyone's gaze, seemed to have self-awareness, slowly wriggling in the cavity, seeking adjacent parts, gradually piecing together, merging, and gradually restoring their original shape. In a matter of moments, Song Ke's heart had miraculously regenerated mostly on its own. Fang Jishu's hands were steady. Taking advantage of the self-repair of the heart, he inserted blood delivery catheters, repaired the damaged ventricular septum and atrial septum through the tricuspid valve, repaired the ruptured arteries, cleared the pleural effusion. In a short time, his ability flowed out in large quantities. Amazingly, Song Ke's body seemed to be cooperating with him. Wherever Fang Jishu's surgical blade paused, the tissues there would automatically return to their original positions, facilitating his actions. After an unknown amount of time, Fang Jishu let out a deep breath and sutured the final thread. Song Kei's breathing stabilized, and her vital signs gradually stabilized as she fell into a shallow sleep. Is she a duel? Su Cha's expression was exceptionally serious. Back in the rainforest, one of his former colleagues had survived a severe leg injury by having the section automatically repaired, escaping death. That colleague was a B-level regeneration awakener. Considering Song Kei's recent condition, where her completely shattered heart had miraculously restored itself, both the speed and complexity of the recovery were beyond comprehension. Just as Su Cha was about to speak, he suddenly met Zhuang Qingyan's scrutinizing gaze. He looked at everyone, especially Lin Yuyu and Su Cha, with a chilling tone in his voice. Everything that happened here today, no one is allowed to speak about it. Chapter 64. Tungwen Hospital, 18. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. I will never lie to you. Fang Jishu yawned, rubbing his eyes sleepily as he walked into the ward. These past 2 days, they took turns staying up all night watching over Song Kei. No one had rested well, but thankfully, she had regained consciousness last night, and her vital signs had stabilized. Postoperative rounds were the responsibility of the operating doctor. Even though he was now down and out, Fang Jishu hadn't lost his habits. As a result, halfway through a yawn with his mouth wide open, he got stuck. There was only a small bump left on the hospital bed, and his patient was gone. Fang Jishu quickly took a few steps and pulled back the blanket. Xu Xing's furry head peeked out, sleeping soundly and blissfully. He seemed to be having a pleasant dream, smacking his lips and wetting the pillow with saliva. Fang Jishu's anger surged. Without hesitation, he tapped Xu Xing's head like a chestnut, still sleeping. Your sister has run away. Xu Xing sat up with closed eyes, bewildered for a moment, and groped the bedsheet beside him. Run away? Sister? Where's my sister? How could such a big sister just disappear like that? Xu Xing had been on night duty, but due to extreme tiredness, he had accidentally fallen asleep. In his dream, someone gently picked him up and caressed his head. Xu Xing felt as if he were sinking into soft clouds. He couldn't help but curl up in the blanket like a caterpillar, and then, he fell asleep. Fang Jishu looked around and, lo and behold, the IV bag and nutrition fluids were taken away, not to mention the medication box. He couldn't help but laugh in exasperation. He wondered if Song Kei could be considered obedient. If we talk about being obedient, she had just woken up and already ran away. What kind of critically ill patient was she? But if we talk about not being obedient, she remembered the doctor's orders very well. She hadn't forgotten to take her medicine. Fang Jishu shook his head. It was his own fault for being presumptuous, stirring up trouble so early in the morning. Sleepiness crept back up on him. All right, go find her. Why are you leaving? Xu Xing grabbed his clothes. To sleep, Fang Jishu answered with a straight face and laid down on the nearby sofa, falling asleep in 3 seconds. Xu Xing, this was too much. With such a big incident, they left a child to face it alone? A few minutes later, Zhuang Qingyan, Lin Yuyu, and Su Cha were informed one by Xu Xing and gathered in the ward. I just went to Manzoni Street to look, but she's not there, Su Cha said. Then let's search further away. She just woke up and has such serious injuries. She shouldn't have gone far, Lin Yuyu said anxiously. I want to go too. Xu Xing, feeling responsible for losing Song Kei, raised his little hand and requested to participate in the Finding Sister activity. Fang Jishu on the sofa turned over, completely unaffected by their conversation. Zhuang Qingyan touched the already cold other half of the bedsheet and said softly, there's no need to look. I know where she went. Ferrara Public Cemetery. This place was rarely visited, and it housed the remains of those without families, without backgrounds, the nameless and faceless deceased. The AI patrol team patrolled the streets and alleys every day. Once the bodies cleared exceeded the time limit with no claimants, they would be collectively placed here. The body that passed away 2 days ago had been cremated into ashes and stored in a small box. In front, a light screen displayed a brief epitaph. Here rests an anonymous traveler, buried on December 24th, in the year 46 of the new calendar. A pair of delicate hands placed the pure white calla lilies beside the light screen. Apart from some miscellaneous items, there were also several epaulettes piled on the box, indicating the identity of the deceased. Song K picked out 7 of them belonging to the 11th squad, wiped their surfaces clean, and stashed them in her pocket. When Zhuang Qingyan found her, Song K was sitting on the platform, quietly gazing at the graves in front of her. The December wind tousled her hair, and her expression was an unprecedented calmness. Your heart has just been mended, and you dare to sneak out? Be careful not to get into trouble again. Fang Jishu might not take action next time. Shush, Song K gestured silently towards him. Don't report me. I'll go back in a while. Zhuang Qingyan smiled. There was no need for him to report. When Xu Xing shouted through his little loudspeaker, everyone knew. Song K tucked the scattered hair behind her ear, speaking in a low voice. I always feel like, during this period, many people have died, so suddenly. She looked down at her palm. The blue light sphere was particularly dim. Trying to condense her abilities, it blinked a few times and then went out, her mental energy severely depleted, needing time to slowly recover. I couldn't save them. I couldn't save Maeda. I couldn't save Wu Juman. Having a strong ability but seeing people around her die one after another, Song K felt for the first time that her power was inadequate. Number 1 could. Zhuang Qingyan already knew the details of what had happened. Song K had told them the truth after regaining consciousness. A silver wheelchair stopped beside Song K. Zhuang Qingyan and she both looked at the small light screen. No one's asking you to be a savior, and you're not obliged to save everyone. The death of Wu Juman wasn't really sudden. You said it yourself, that Sonata and Punk were transported through a spatial rift. Even the Bloody Hunter was mobilized, indicating that they had been targeting this place in advance, coming prepared. Song K frowned and thought slowly, came P prepared. Could it be that Xie Ningyu was being tracked? It's not Xie Ningyu. Zhuang Qingyan shook his head slowly, it's Wu Juman. If Xie Ningyu was the problem, he would have been pursued and killed on the way to Ergia. Since he arrived safely in Ferrara, it proves that, before this, he did not attract the Alliance's attention. Zhuang Qingyan analyzed calmly, the problem lies with Wu Juman. The mission he took is a real hot potato. Many eyes are on him from behind, wanting to use him, seize the credit, or eliminate potential threats. After all, everyone wants Xie Zhu dead, Zhuang Qingyan sighed. Because it involved the key, every step Wu Juman took was extremely dangerous, like walking on a tightrope. And when he found the suspected key, Xie Ningyu, it was the moment the tightrope snapped. Song K fell silent for a moment and quickly pointed out the error in Zhuang Qingyan's words, it's not everyone. She recalled everything she saw on the rooftop that day. Wu Juman didn't intend to kill Xie Ningyu. He wanted to escort him back and hand him over to that person, Xie Lan, for General Xie to deal with personally. Zhuang Qingyan was slightly stunned and spoke again in a calm voice, is that so? But from the outcome, there's no difference. With people dead and buried, it was impossible to verify anything about Wu Juman. Now, whatever was said would be futile. Song K looked at the resting box one last time and walked out with Zhuang Qingyan. Lin Yu and Su Cha, how do you plan to handle them? Handle what? Your heart can heal on its own. Do you know what that means? Zhuang Qingyan's tone was serious. Regardless of the reason, a heart that shattered like that can recover. This will bring you great trouble. Fang Jishu not mutating after being bitten was enough to cause a stir, and once your condition is exposed, do you know how many fanatical researchers will want to send you to the lab for dissection and thoroughly study every set of your cell genes? Song K imagined the scene Zhuang Qingyan described and suddenly felt a chill run down her spine. She had noticed before that she possessed extraordinary healing abilities. No wounds left a trace, even the places where she was scratched by zombies didn't mutate. She used to think it was a side effect of awakening her special abilities, but now it seemed that the real reason far exceeded her understanding. She hadn't figured it out herself and didn't want to be studied. What does this have to do with them? I won't speak about your matters. Xu Xing and Fang Jishu follow you every day. There's no opportunity for them to spill anything. As for those two, Zhuang Qingyan's voice was distant. For Lin Yuyu and Su Cha, they were outsiders to him, and with a criminal record, their level of trust was very low. She probably won't betray us, Song Ke already knew. It was Lin Yuyu who had taken the risk to rescue her from Punk's hands that day. She felt that the other party should not do something like that. But you're right, having a past of betrayal makes it difficult to trust again. So, I suggest, kill them. It's a clean sweep. Zhuang Qingyan made the suggestion lightly. Song Ke took a sharp breath, slowly clenched her fist, ready to hit him first, but as soon as her hand went up, she immediately expressionlessly covered her chest. "Ah, my chest hurts." Song Ke wouldn't act spoiled for no reason. If she said it hurt, it truly did. Zhuang Qingyan teased her into a smile. "I know you don't want to, so there's only one choice left. Let them join V587 and follow you from now on for easy supervision." Join V587? Song Ke was surprised. She had never considered this possibility. Well, using Joan might not be appropriate. You can think of them as temporary companions, no need for real feelings. Zhuang Qingyan explained. Will they agree? Zhuang Qingyan. Shouldn't be a big problem. The only conflict is the throne race, but don't forget, what is our purpose for participating? Song Ke. Money. The three members of V587 participated at that time just to earn alliance coins. Over time, this initial goal had been almost forgotten by Song Ke. Zhuang Qingyan nodded. So, what we want doesn't conflict. Lin Yuyu wanted a promise from Ilya, and they were just in it for the money. If they united and truly won, there wouldn't be any conflicting interests. Oh, Song Ke decided to go back and have a good talk with Lin Yuyu. The two of them walked quietly side by side for a while. Their problem has been solved. In the atmosphere of calmness, Song Ke slowly spoke. What about yours? Mine? Zhuang Qingyan was slightly taken aback. Yeah, S-level, psychic ability. That day, I sensed it. Zhuang Qingyan's wheelchair stopped, not knowing how to explain for a moment. Song Ke turned around, her expression fierce, stepping closer to him step by step. Weak researcher? Nothing special, just an ordinary person? Hugging thighs? Recalling that day, when Song Ke first sensed the powerful killing intent, it should have been from Zhuang Qingyan. His leg was injured for another reason, as Yang Bo and Wu Yuru were just two C-level awakeners. How could they kill an S-level like him? Song Ke placed her hands on the wheelchair, her momentum overwhelming. As she spoke, Zhuang Qingyan took a step back, and with no further retreat, his back bumped against the wheelchair. Their noses were but a short distance apart. Song Ke lowered her head, her eyes burning with anger. From the beginning, you've been lying to me. Zhuang Qingyan protested loudly. I didn't lie to you. You never asked me. Song Ke. Unbelievable. Was it all her fault? Just as she was about to speak, she suddenly realized that she was too close to Zhuang Qingyan, close enough to count his long, dense eyelashes. Song Ke paused and withdrew a little. She asked very seriously, have you never, ever, believed in me? No. Zhuang Qingyan remained silent for a long time, affirming, fully trusting someone is something I find difficult to do. Song Ke. She might not express her disappointment or sorrow, but Zhuang Qingyan's honesty made it hard for Song Ke to find the right words. Song Ke. Zhuang Qingyan's low voice softly called her name. Song Ke glanced at him, not pleased, and remained silent. Perhaps you think I'm full of lies and don't believe me sincerely. Song Ke tilted her head, her expression clearly written with bewilderment. Aren't you? Zhuang Qingyan sighed. I can't fully entrust you with 100% trust. But there's one thing I can be sure of. As long as you ask, as long as I can answer, I will never lie to you. Oh, Song Ke responded. After a few seconds, she raised a question in a small voice. Didn't you lie to me before? About being a drug researcher? I did that for someone else. If you believe it, can you blame me? Zhuang Qingyan raised an eyebrow. Song Ke's temper flared up instantly. She kicked Zhuang Qingyan's wheelchair with her toe, making him spin around. Zhuang Qingyan had a headache. Song Kiki, behave yourself if you're sick. Why are you still so mischievous? Song Ke kicked faster, but accidentally used too much force, which affected the wound. With a sharp intake of breath, she covered her mouth and squatted down. This weak appearance was very different from her usually lively self. Zhuang Qingyan flipped her hood, covering her head, and rubbed her head absent-mindedly. Be good, stop making trouble. Chapter 65. Tungwen Hospital, 19. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. Luxurious lineup of V587. Song Ke played around like a primary school student for a while and was pulled back by the rationality of adults, preparing to go back and meet with the others. Not long after leaving the cemetery, a rotating data wall appeared out of thin air. The code, composed of numerous small squares, dissipated layer by layer, and Ilya walked from the void. Song Ke was surprised. This place was remote, and there were hardly any cameras, let alone holographic projections. Although artificial intelligence was everywhere, Ilya's sudden appearance was too abrupt. How did he manage it? Song Ke and Zhuang Qingyan stopped, their eyes vigilantly fixed on the figure in front of them. Him appearing at this moment was not a good sign. Ilya leisurely examined her for a moment, a pleasant smile appearing on his face. Indeed, still alive. Song Ke frowned slightly. She was now full of suspicion and vigilance towards Ilya. Leaving aside the matter of the tower, at that time he clearly knew everything, knew the arrival of the bloody hunter, but left only a vague blood and violence, and led her to Manzoni Street. She didn't know what his intentions were. Surprised to see me? Judging by your expression, it seems you're not very welcoming, Ilya said, taking the initiative. His dazzling golden hair shimmered in the sunlight, as if coated with a honey-like hue. Although it was just a casual thing, I helped you intercept a chase. Aren't you going to thank me? Oh, Song Ke thanked him emotionlessly. Thank you, it was close. She had a chance to kill Punk herself, but unfortunately, due to his unexpected sneak attack, she couldn't succeed. Song Ke never underestimated her enemies. The reason she was severely injured this time was that she didn't know there was a dual-element awakener, and she never expected Punk's other ability was the rare time element. But Punk, in S level, was not invincible. Song Ke thought that if she encountered him again, she would definitely cut off his head. Ilya walked lightly around her for 2 steps, lowered his gaze to observe her shoulders, limbs, fingers. There was no frivolity or flirtation in his eyes, only pure appreciation. If I hadn't already made a choice, I would still like this body of yours. Song Ke stared at him expressionlessly and spoke coldly after a while, I can still kill you. Ilya met her gaze for 2 seconds, sensing the burst of killing intent from her, and quickly changed his tone, just kidding. I came to tell you that the throne race will be postponed for 3 months. During these 3 months, I don't want any accidents to happen to Ferrara. Having experienced the resistance faction, the zombie siege, and the blood explosions, Ferrara was already heavily scarred and could no longer endure any further torment. This city desperately needed a period of peace to recover and prosper. As early as the previous day, the advancing participants received a notification about the postponement of the throne race. Why did Ilya come to her specifically to convey this? Song Ke was puzzled. How does it concern me? Ilya's tone was meaningful. Of course, it concerns you because you were the biggest wild card. Although I sent the bloody hunter back, as long as you are here, we never know when they might return. So I have a suggestion. How about you go outside and take a break? Song Ke, She understood the reasoning. They were worried she might cause trouble for Ferrara by staying here. But was her presence that much of an issue? To the extent that the highest-ranking official personally chased her away? Song K glanced at Ilya. He seemed relaxed in his tone but didn't appear to be joking. This suggestion wasn't unreasonable. They hadn't intended to stay in Ferrara indefinitely, and there was no need to confront him head-on at this juncture. Song K nodded. Okay, but I have a few questions. Please go ahead. A data stream formed a spacious chair, and Ilya sat in it, appearing relaxed and regal, as if he held the fate of Ferrara in his hands. Did you alter my level? This was a statement of certainty. Song K remembered Punk's words vividly from that day. She was an S-level strong attack type with a gold element ability, but her ability certificate showed only A level. Upon careful thought, all the tests were conducted in Ferrara, and the only one who could discreetly modify the results was Ilya. Ilya didn't deny it. Yes. Song K asked. Why? Ferrara is my territory. If an S-level awakener appears here, too much attention will be drawn. I don't want to attract excessive scrutiny at this critical moment, Ilya said lightly, as if altering someone's ability level was a trivial matter. Anyway, for you, the level isn't that important. When you're outside, A level is more convenient than S level. He smiled, and his face seemed to show more emotions, becoming more and more like a true human. Just didn't expect. There's not just one hidden S level. Ilya's gaze fell on Zhuang Qingyan, who was sitting in a wheelchair behind her. Zhuang Qingyan smiled slightly at him, looking calm. Ilya glanced at him a little longer and then turned his gaze away. Since you were so concerned about Ferrara, why did you release the zombies? Song K asked. Why can't I? Ilya countered. If a room is dirty, you clean it up in time, get rid of what I don't want, and what's left is what I like. His casually dismissive tone sent a chill down one's spine. Song K pursed her lips. Why do you collect zombies and hold the throne race competition? Ilya smiled slowly. Because I'm bored. Don't you think it's interesting to observe humans showing various expressions? Awakeners and their former kind killing each other, what a splendid performance. You can only see it in Ferrara. Song K understood completely. This unconventional artificial intelligence ruler acted on whims, regardless of right or wrong, and couldn't be held to human moral standards. I have no more questions, Song K said. Ilya smiled slightly. Then, see you at the competition in 3 months. With that, he disappeared on the spot. We underestimated him. Perhaps even Leon's rebellion is part of his calculations, Zhuang Qingyan said with a serious expression. Starting from organizing the throne race, this super artificial intelligence had been playing a very significant game. Song K turned her head. Why 3 months? Zhuang Qingyan pondered. He's eliminating potential threats. There's only one possibility. During these 3 months, he can't appear and personally manage Ferrara. Song K was stunned. Why couldn't Ilya manage Ferrara personally unless he had something more important to do? Lu Xinglan. Song K uttered a name. Since Ilya took Lu Xinglan away, she hadn't seen him again. And his offhand mention of a body always sent a shiver down her spine. After returning, Xu Xing transformed into a spoiled child when he saw her, clinging to Song K and refusing to let go. Sister Tilda, did you carry me to sleep last night? His voice was soft and sweet, and his 2 watery eyes blinked and blinked, shamelessly acting cute. You need a good sleep to grow tall, Song K said, patting his curly hair, educating the young child. In front of her, Xu Xing was always obedient and amiable. However, Song K had witnessed him explode in rage and curse at the shelter, so she knew that the child's true character wasn't as perfect as it appeared. But what did that matter? Compared to the lifeless and forever gone person, he was lively and vibrant, which was good. After comforting Xu Xing, Song K went to Lin Yuyu. I need to talk to you about something. Lin Yuyu was carefully applying lipstick in front of the mirror, and she had an online interview to record later. You and Su Cha, join V587, Song K said. Lin Yuyu's hand trembled, smearing the lipstick crookedly, leaving an abrupt line at the corner of her mouth. Can you repeat that? She asked incredulously, thinking she had misheard. You and Sucha, join V587, Song K repeated. Lin Yuyu widened her beautiful eyes, her slender fingers trembling as she pointed at her. Song K, I risked so much to save you. I thought we were even. You still hold a grudge against me for what happened at Mirror Lake? Song K said, It's not. It's fine if you're not grateful, but you still want me to continue being your coolie. How can your heart be so dark? The big star got into her acting mode, whimpering a couple of times and leaning on the table with teary eyes filled with accusation. Song K muttered softly, It was Zhuang Qingyan. He was afraid you'd report me, and spill the beans about my heart. Zhuang Qingyan beside her was mercilessly exposed. Lin Yuyu's hypocritical sobbing got stuck in her throat. She was angry, her tone rising sharply. Nonsense, am I that kind of person? In fact, you can consider it as a deal, Song K explained seriously. Lin Yuyu and Su Cha joining them, working together with them, until the throne race ends. After that, if they get eliminated or win the championship, and when Song K leaves Ferrara, they can decide whether or not to report anything. Lin Yuyu could choose to withdraw. This proposal was both a limitation, restricting their personal freedom during this time, and a new collaboration led by Song K after Mirror Lake. The relationship between them was like temporary partners. No close bonds were required, just unified action. The most important thing was the tempting conditions on the table. If we win the championship, we'll get the money, and the opportunity for a wish, we'll give it to you. This is my promise. Lin Yuyu was startled after hearing this. She knew deep down that she and Su Cha were doing fine at the moment, but as the competition progressed, there would be more skilled competitors. It would be difficult to win the championship with just the two of them. But if they joined V587, they could form a formidable, unbeatable team of 5. Thinking about this, Lin Yuyu's heart started beating faster and faster. She couldn't help but hold her head, forcing herself to calm down. Wait, let me think about it, she said. She thought about it for the whole afternoon, and by dinner time, Lin Yuyu appeared radiant. We can join V587, she agreed in her first sentence. Xu Xing, who was happily sipping on juice, was so shocked that the juice box